Hello, this is Christine, and we are continuing our series as we dive into building with Claude Code. And we're doing it by building a subscription manager app. And in our last session, we put in all of the code needed to synchronize data between TinyBase local storage and on the server side. And now we get a chance to actually test things out. And it's going to be quite a fun ride because it gets a little bit complicated when you're dealing with local first to the backend server. And so after we finished and completed it last time, this is what I got, a lovely blank screen. So this way it would actually help if I got a hold of Claude and asked it to help me debug what's going on. So here we are back, and I'm actually curious what the cost was for doing all that, about $1.51. So I've got this blank screen that I am seeing here, and I want to just basically see if it can actually take a screenshot and let me know what could be going on here. And I'm asking it to use Puppeteer, and for those who don't know, Puppeteer allows you to actually navigate and see what's going on. And if I were to go to see the debug screen, it's actually going to the wrong thing. So I say, go to port 5173. It seems to be so convinced based on that. So it's going to that port, and I say, yeah. And I say, just don't ask me again, so that if it needs to take more screenshots, it can go ahead and debug this. All right, so it's got that image, and hopefully it can actually potentially do some more debug as well. So, okay, continue debugging. I usually don't need to prompt it to do this, so it's taking a little longer. If it persists in doing that, I'll just have it just basically restart the session. Okay, it's looking at the errors that it's seen. Hopefully it'll be able to map that to what might be going on. So it's checking to see any content, and it's already running. Said running. Okay, it's a simpler approach. Okay, I'll let it continue debugging and see if it gives me some really interesting information that I can come back with. So it seems to have gotten itself in a loop where it wants me to make an edit on app.ts to make it simpler. At this point, it's probably best if I just take a screenshot of the error that I'm seeing in the browser. So if in the browser I've opened up Inspector, I've got this error, I'm just going to take a screenshot and then give it to Claude Code and say, nah, I want you to basically use this screenshot and take a look at the console errors. And I'm going to drag it from here, and hopefully it should be able to kind of cycle through and see what's going on in here. All right, so here it's been able to see that there's something going on with sync queue, and that export isn't available, so hopefully it can go find the fix. Let's see what it can do. Now this is looking a little fishy to me, and I'm just going to say no, and then just kind of like basically give it the TypeScript error that I am seeing in cursor. So usually I'd actually in Claude Code told it to be quite strict about using types, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. So that's kind of like what I want. I want the type handling to say type in here. So if I were to do something like that, hopefully it should do that, but it's removed these files in here, and I think just because it was in the middle of trying to use it. So import sync operation type is not used, and we can get rid of that as well. So here I'm actually just basically taking a shortcut and getting around what Claude Code was trying to do. Sometimes it's a lot faster to do it that way if you have a little bit of idea of what's going on in the code. So after making that change, notice that in the browser there's another similar error showing up. So what I'm going to do is ask Claude to just basically run a type check on the front end as well. So run type check, linter, formatter, front end. Hopefully that'll get rid of some of these issues that we're seeing. Just checking in, we've been wrangling and Claude's been doing like a really good job. It fixed some of the linter errors, and as it went into what might be wrong, it went ahead and checked the TinyBase documentation using context 7. It thinks it has a better understanding, and so it's going to go ahead and try to make these changes, hoping for the best, and we'll fill you in if anything interesting happens. Just came to check back in, and after quite a bit of back and forth, Claude was able to fix all of the TypeScript errors. So let's see if we are able to see this working. All right, so we've got a new error in here that we can feed into Claude Code, and we can just say this is what we're seeing. Now I'll just take a screenshot. And drag that in and say, this is what I'm seeing in the front end. And drag that in here. And it should be able to at least give us a little bit of information. And it's basically saying use sync contest must be used within a sync provider. So we'll check and see what might be going on in here as it circles through. So it's saying it's because the hook is trying to access, but it's not being properly wrapped. So, all right. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and cycle through and hopefully try to resolve this. Okay, so let's make this edit and see if we get a little further. Probably need to make some changes in here. And I'll let it kind of cycle through and explain if there's anything interesting that went on here. All right, just checking back in. So we did have like a new error show up, which I fed it through an image. And after it changed that, it's going to go ahead and fix some more things. But at least you can see that there is some progress being made. And we have at least a semblance of something showing up. Progress, progress. Yeah, you're getting those errors in the window because it's in the middle of making some changes. So that's okay. We'll just be patient. All right, so we're back, and it was able to cycle through, added more proper error handling, and at least we don't have any errors here. We've got get IDs is not a function, so some things that we probably need to check into, and we can definitely do that, but at least we have some UI, something in the UI, so that's definitely progress. So just to kind of wrap up what we did in this particular session, and I'll go in and fix any of the remaining errors and report back in the next episode. But what we did is just go ahead and see that we've got our sync with no errors running, but we actually haven't tested it thoroughly. We just went through and make sure we resolved a whole bunch of TinyBase related errors and refactoring, made use of screenshots, we threw everything at it. And I think we're close. I'm not sure we're all the way there, but in the next episode, we'll just go ahead and at least hopefully finish up some of the key pieces and then probably get it ready for a test deployment. So join me in the next episode as we continue building with Claude Code.